Hi Virgo, welcome to your week ahead taroscope with me, Raphael from Reydiant Reality. It's an absolute pleasure to have you. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for joining me. Quick note, these are for your sun, moon and ascendant sign. Check them out for all three so that you know which part of you I resonate with most as a reader. With that said, remember they're general readings, use your own discernment. Before we start, as always, I would like to bless my decks of cards with all forms of love, light, peace, prosperity and abundance, and I pray that the messages that come through are ultimately clear and concise. They help you on your path to your highest vibrational good. So for your key to the week this week, you have, if you are a continue subby, you know Rafi loves you. If you're new to my channel, please don't forget to like, share, and if you should so choose and this resonates, hit the subscribe button. So for your key this week, you have the Lovers. All right, so now remember, aside from love, relationship and partnership, which we'll talk about in just a moment, the Lovers card actually represents choice. Now, we make hundreds, thousands of decisions a day, right? But whenever the Lovers card shows up, it means that there's usually a significant choice that we have to make. We're having to choose between this and that. We're having to discern whether this is or isn't for us, right? It's usually like a heartfelt quandary. So this is where we really feel like, okay, you know what, I have to give this some thought, because, and the truth be told, you know, once we make a decision on something, we lose whatever the other possibility was, right? So for your actions and options, you've got the Queen of Swords, but the Queen of Swords coupled with the Lovers card is a Gemini woman. So a Gemini woman features for you this week very strongly, right? She shows up for you in a really big way. The other thing that I'll say to you as well, with the Queen of Swords, she usually shows up as somebody that can be a little hard to deal with, right? This is usually like a very cantankerous woman. And because this is in your actions and options, there's something here that you are willing to fight for. There's something here that you're not backing down on, something that you refuse to kind of let go of. And maybe this is because it takes away that option. Maybe this is because a choice is being forced upon you in some way, shape or form. Now, I always say with the Queen of Swords, she's got a mouth like a sewer, but a heart full of gold, right? I'm actually describing my mother there. Right? Jokes aside, Mum's not a Virgo, but that is her. Jokes aside, in terms of your actions, you are fighting for something, but maybe it's the choice that you're fighting for, to keep your ability to choose for yourself, to keep your autonomy, to keep your what's the word, free will even, or certainly freedom of thought. Now, when it comes to the options that are available to you, there's a chance for you to demonstrate here. Like this week, I actually feel like you will be given an opportunity to speak on something, but it's like in doing so, you will be making a very clear declaration about how you feel about something. I've got no problems or qualms with that. I personally don't, but somebody may, right? Just remember, with the Queen of Swords, we're usually having to fight for something, which means there's a potential to rub somebody up the wrong way. I remember seeing a quote that really stuck with me, and maybe it's because I'm an Aquarius, right? But the quote that stuck with me was something like, I'm paraphrasing because I can't remember it exactly, but it was like, don't worry about having enemies. It means that you stood up for something in your life. And I was like, yeah, wow, you know what? It's really true. Now, in terms of a Gemini woman, this could be somebody who maybe plays a support, but also somebody that gives you the challenge. For your communications and conversations, you've got the Eight of Wands. So communications could potentially take on a legal slant this week, right? There's a lot of communication this week. It's going to be busy, busy, busy. You are, as you know, Mercury ruled. So communication is a massive part of everything that you do anyway, right? And your ruling planet over the course of this week will move back into your sign, where, you know, where Mercury in Virgo does some of its best work. Now, because you've got this Eight of Wands though, communication is flowing fast. It's backwards and forwards. There's a lot going on. There is potentially a legal slant to some of this communication that's going on as well. And it may very well be that you're having to make a decision that is somewhat sort of, you know, not even somewhat, like you're having to make a decision that's really not easy. This could be because it's on somebody else's behalf. So you might be charged or tasked with being, maybe you have to take over somebody's legal paperwork for their will. Maybe you're, maybe something happens if you've got children. Maybe something happens with one of the kids. Maybe you and your partner or ex-partner are separated and they file for custody. Do you know what I mean? Like, there's something here where you're having to assume a fair amount of responsibility, and maybe you're fighting for the choice, but also maybe the decision is a really hard one to make. For those of you that are studying or in some form of academia, the Eight of Wands, I mean, this is great for your studies because it means that you're really doing the work and you're processing the information just like a Virgo does, lightning quick. That being said, if you are just going into your first year and you're just in the process of sort of really choosing your courses, there might be two things that you really want or need to do for your eventual career path, but they clash on the timetable. There is a way for you to negotiate this out. I can't personally tell you what it is unless I was looking at the timetable, etc. But there will be a way out of it. And if there isn't at the moment and nobody else is able to, or nobody else chooses to suggest a way, you're going to have to fight for that, right? So if you want both of these subjects that are, and it's necessary for your degree, you got to fight for it in some way, shape or form. I think you'll be able to find a way around it. And it may have something to do with you re-watching the classes. So it's like you're still taking the course, but you're just taking it at a different time. So maybe all of the courses or the classes are recorded. You have to watch them back and then interact with your lecturer, via email or, in between classes or whatever. There is a way here, but you're going to have to fight for it. For those of you that are employed by somebody else, this is going to be a busy week, and I will say your employer, maybe not necessarily your boss, but the institution for which you work. It's very likely that this week they are implementing some kind of new shift or change that really affects not only your job but the company wide. And it's like whatever changes they're bringing in, I don't think it's just you that are unhappy about them, but I will say they're being hard coded in, right? There's something in the matrix is shifting. Because this will be, it's not just going to be a glitch. It's going to be like, yeah, something's changed, and something's changed in a big way. When it comes to those of you that are business owners, entrepreneurs, solopreneurs, people that work for themselves, this is kind of a this or that, right? Maybe what you've got going on at the moment in your work or your business is working. It's doing what it's doing what you love and all the rest of it. But there's a feeling here that as it sort of progresses in some way, what's the best way to put this? Yeah, like as this progresses forward, it's almost like an opportunity shows up for you this week and you kind of realize very quickly, like, shit, if I'm going to go for this, I'm going to have to let all of these other sort of smaller jobs go. My advice to you would be start clearing them now. Get the other stuff finished so that you don't have to upset any clients. But when this big one comes in, you will have to be all in, right? And that means that you won't be able to take any other smaller projects on. And if that is the case, make sure that the recompense is going to be enough to sustain you, right? If someone wants all of your attention and your focus where you're not going to be able to take other clients, etc., they need to pay for that, right? Because you need to sustain yourself. For those of you that are retired and no longer working for any reason, I think some kind of conversation is opened up this week. A dialogue is opened up. You can decide whether you do or don't want to respond. But I think if you do, this really sets a new precedent for how you move forward. So this could be somebody that you actually haven't heard from for a very long time. That's interesting. For your love and relations, you've got the High Priestess. So for those of you that are partnered, married, or in long-term commitments, this coupled with the Eight of Wands, your partner is about to have a correspondence. Excuse me. Your partner is about to have a correspondence or a conversation of some sort. It's not that they don't want to share it with you. it kind of just feels like they're a bit sort of like, oh, you know, I don't really know how to approach this with you. It could be because they've had an ex reach out to them. It could be that they've had a family member make a certain request from them, like for money or whatever, and you're kind of like, oh, you know, you don't want that to happen, or you're not interested in it happening, or whatever the case might be. So I'm intrigued about this because I feel like it could be, yeah, I don't think it's going to be a problem for you guys. I just feel like you might have to approach it at a time where you're a bit calmer about the whole thing. Now, for those of you that are single and looking, it's very possible that some of you have been talking to somebody over the airways, texting, emails, etc., and it's been going back and forth, and maybe you are moving to the point where it becomes something official, but you're not talking about it openly. So it's like you've started a relationship, but you started that relationship, or you're about to start one, behind closed doors. It's very hush hush, and I think this is a good thing. Like, if you're dating somebody brand new, maybe don't mention it for like 3 to 6 months. See how you really get on with that person without other people's input first. And then, you know, if you feel like, actually, yeah, now I feel like sharing this. I will say, if you have a really strong intuition about a partner or a loved one this week, pay attention to it, because it will be spot on. All right, so before we get into your money and materials, I do want to remind you that these will soon be going behind a membership. So if you would like to get your weeklies, then you're going to need to sign up for that. There's a link in the description box below. It'll be $8.99 a month, so the price of a coffee and maybe like a coffee and a snack. And they'll be super accessible for everybody. There'll be the weeklies, plus there'll be other things that I add to the membership from time to time as well. So you want to stay tuned for that. There will be other types of content on the channel, but I'm not talking about what that is. You're just going to have to stick around and see. When it comes to your money and materials, you've got the World card. This is beautiful. A hunch that you had around money, or a financial decision or move that you made, is about to come up trumps. Love this for you. It's also possible that some of you could be spending money on a community of sorts, right? Or a community endeavor. When it comes to your physical health and vitality, this is your bones, your structure, like your physical self, particularly your arms, your shoulders, hands, wrists, fingers, etc. You know, your joints this week. Pay attention to those as well. And then when it comes to your home and environment, the World card for home tends to be about who you are surrounded by, the area that you live in, and the structural integrity of the home. With the Lovers card here, for a lot of you, you might be really thinking or rethinking where it is that you're going to live, how you're going to live there, whether the place that you're currently in serves its purpose. And for a lot of you, you might decide, like, maybe you've been going through this whole process and then you realize, like, actually, no, I want to stay where I am. I'm happy here. I love, you know, I like where I am. With that said, I would like to bless my sorry, we've done that, Raf, we're starting again. I would like to wish you an abundance of all of that good stuff. Have a fantastic week. Let me know in the comments how it shapes up. Take care, and I'll see you soon.